everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I am Dan.
And coming up today, gays in marriage.
Did you just do that like pigs in space?
Yeah.
Okay. You just referred to your own people as pigs. I'm just going
And
to say.
marriage as
Space.
the lost, empty,
The final frontier.
black void of space. The final frontier. It'll be the final frontier of my life, let me tell you.
Ugh. Yeah? Do
Yeah.
you feel like you'll ever want to get married?
I don't know. I'm approaching 40.
Yeah.
Never been married.
Fast approaching.
Not fast.
Oh,
You're fast approaching.
It's coming at you. You're 1 month behind me. 1 month.
I love how sensitive you are about 40. It's really bugging you.
No, it's
it's
just
bugging you.
weird. It's just weird to me. It doesn't bother me so much as it's just I marvel at the thought.
No, I've heard you say some things that are pretty amazing
I am amazing. Thanks,
about you,
Frank.
about you getting old, and I think it's funny because I don't feel old.
I don't feel old. Things are different.
You look old, but
You wish. You look way older than me.
Not even close, Mister.
If I shave, I look like I'm in my 20s.
Not even close.
Whatever.
You have a baby face, but that doesn't
See?
I
have a baby face.
right. So maybe like if you're across the room and kind of bad vision, you look really young.
Oh,
But all you have to do is get up close, Dan.
you're asking for it, mister. We can
it's
put a thing up on the...
a Monet.
Up on
a Monet.
the YouTube,
That's
the Facebook.
right. Isn't that in Clueless? Isn't that what Sarah Silverspoon or whatever her name was?
I know nothing of what you're talking about right now. You're just making stuff up.
Alyssa Silver Milano. I don't know. What was her name?
Silverstone?
Silverstone.
Yeah,
Alyssa Silverstone?
I think so. Yeah.
They called somebody a Monet.
Okay.
Far away they look okay, but up close it's just a mess.
Good from far, far from good.
Yeah, I don't know.
See what I did there?
That was clever. Anyway,
We'll move on now.
I don't think. Yeah,
Apparently, there's a feud happening between me and Frank currently.
not really. Dan's just getting old. Everybody.
That's true. I am. I'm going to do a story now. North of here is one Boise, Idaho. I think you've heard of that.
Yeah.
Nice town. Houses, I believe, the Northwest Nazarene University.
Oh,
A Christian university, if you can't guess that from the hints in the name.
okay.
And one of the faculty members of this institution used to be one Thomas Oord, spelled O-O-R-D. I didn't know that was a last name.
I bet that's a rare last name.
Here,
I bet there's not a lot of people.
maybe in Norway, it's more popular or whatever it is. It sounds Norsk, right?
Could be anything, really.
Yeah. Anyway, Mr. Oord was a tenured professor at NNU.
Yeah.
He was recently laid off.
How does that happen? He had tenure.
Yeah, well, he wasn't fired.
Oh.
According to the university, it was just budget-driven. According to everybody else, it's because he teaches evolution as
very expensive field to teach.
Yeah, exactly. They can't afford
that
to keep a guy who's teaching that. I mean, and what with all of the costs of that. Anyway, so I mean, there's no surprise there that a professor who teaches evolution at a Christian college would somehow find his way not working at a Christian college anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
What is surprising is the overwhelming support for him that has happened.
Really?
The fact that over 120, so there's been a petition that's been presented to the Board of Trustees of the Northwest Nazarene University. 123 faculty members from faith-based universities across North America are signed on to this petition saying take him back.
Well, you need to know the philosophies of your enemy to fully understand.
I don't know.
Do you think it's actual
it's support,
like academic, intellectual, support?
It's what it seems to be. I'm
Really?
pretty shocked by this. I was made aware of it by a friend of mine on her Facebook page posting a thing about, I grew up in the Nazarene faith, but this is really important. Won't you please sign on to this petition?
Oh.
And I was like, what the hell's a petition? And then further research, and it was just like, oh, holy crap, this guy's getting a shit ton of support across the country.
Well, these other professors and whatnot, if they're truly academics,
right?
They probably have already figured out how to square, knowledge of evolution as a scientific, theory or fact.
Theory in the scientific sense of the term,
which means
it's accepted as fact.
It's accepted as fact. So you have that. You square that with your belief in God,
right?
Which really, truly should not be that hard for people.
No, you can. Yeah, I mean,
it shouldn't.
It's an easy one sentence of God created evolution.
Exactly.
And ta-da, you're done.
Done. But instead, yeah.
Anyway. I mean, human evolution becomes trickier. It's trickier when you've got the Adam and Eve story to square with the fossil
you can
record.
Still figure it out.
If nothing else, at least acknowledge evolution as a concept.
Yeah.
Even if you deny human evolution, acknowledge evolution.
Yeah.
It's real.
Just look at the animals.
Yeah. Yeah.
The non-human animals.
Yeah. Ignore that one primate that's walking around.
Ruling the planet.
Yeah. Dominating. Go humans. Yeah. We rule. Anyway, I was just interested that the support was what struck me on this one.
Well, I think sometimes we do paint Christianity with too broad of strokes.
Yeah. So we're, in
th-
fairness
there
to
are
them, look at this.
Yeah.
Regarde.
S'il vous plaît.
S'il vous plaît.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
Uh-huh.
I don't know which story to do. They're all so good.
Oh, good. Well, choose one.
I'm going to pick the story of a prominent leader in ISIS. ISIS Pakistan.
Oh.
Their Pakistan division leader. His name is Hafiz Muhammad Saeed.
Sorry, that just sounded like a nice drink.
Hafiz.
I like a nice Hafiz. Refreshing on a summer day.
He has died.
Oh, dear.
From his own bomb.
Oh.
That he was planting on the side of a road.
That's a shame.
He was planting an IED.
When you're that high up in the organization, you have someone else plant your IEDs.
Yeah. In fact, this probably wasn't even that improvised of an explosive device. He had they were handling the explosive device, whatever it was, when it exploded unexpectedly. This is one of those where I don't feel bad.
No, why would you feel bad about that?
This is like, come on.
Yeah.
This is instant karma. Even though I don't believe in karma, but like sooner or later it has to happen.
I'm sure it happens a lot.
This high up guy was out there, rocking around, planting bombs.
It does make one wonder if anyone at the CIA or whatever has thought to start disseminating faulty bomb parts.
Or they're using cell phone bombs, just flooding that thing with signal.
Right, exactly. Just every now and then, we're just gonna make everybody's phone ring randomly every now and then.
You get them in your binoculars. You're like, oh, there you go.
They can do it. I've seen The Wire. They can figure that out.
They can figure it out. They should be setting these bombs off while they're being handled. I'm sorry. So it feels weird to say. Feels weird to just so flippantly talk about a human being's death, but it sure feels like a deserved one.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it says, he was going to kill somebody else, and then he killed himself, and he Mark Hoffman'd himself is what he did.
Except Mark Hoffman lived for a minute, didn't he?
Yeah, he lived.
Isn't he? Wait, he lived.
Yeah,
like, he was
lived.
just maimed, right?
He blew himself up. This is a Mormon guy in sort of in the 80s. He started bombing people because he was passing off fake documents,
Right.
and people were getting closer and closer to figuring out that he was forging them.
Right.
And so he started blowing people up, and then he done blowed himself up.
Wasn't the blowing himself up? It was an accident, but it threw them off his trail for a minute. Right.
Yeah, he painted himself as one of the targets for a minute.
Exactly.
And then they were like, wait a minute.
He's a master forger.
Oh, boy.
And he was a master forger.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Everybody was fooled.
And the great thing about what he did is he actually had the LDS Church, the higher-ups of the LDS Church, one man, Gordon B. Hinckley, who ends up being the president of the church.
And prophet,
so convinced that this stuff is for real and that it needs to just be hidden away because of how damning it was to the church's history, that he's like doing these like secret deals and like buying this shit up.
Right.
It's insane that it happened. And it's so damning to the LDS Church.
Yeah.
And they just walked away.
Yeah, where were
squeaky clean?
Why didn't you pray about it, guys?
Yeah,
God would have told you it was fake.
Did the Lord tell you that the salamander letters were fake? Thanks, Lord.
Anywho, all right, we'll move on. Don't play with bombs, kids. I think that's the takeaway here. Don't
just be safe.
Don't fuck around with bombs.
Be safe. If you are setting up a roadside bomb.
You're going down a very bad road.
Is that the wrong takeaway?
Yeah, I think
that was the wrong takeaway.
Don't fuck around with bombs.
Ah, shit. That was ISIS's talking point.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Frank's in ISIS, everybody.
Oh, don't even say that, Dan. I don't even want to joke about that. That's horrible. I hate those people.
Okay.
I literally hate those people.
Really?
I think I feel hatred toward ISIS.
Huh. I get that. I mean, they're not doing anything
that weird?
nice.
Did I feel that way?
No, I think that's probably normal.
Huh.
It's weird. It's probably more weird that I don't feel that way.
I really, truly am so bothered by the existence of radical Islam.
Yeah.
It just ruins my day thinking about it, actually. Is that just so weird?
No, that's normal.
It seems so weird to me.
It does.
It's so far removed from my life, and I start thinking about him, and I just feel like my whole life has been based in like the most naive perspective on humanity. Like this sort of sheltered Western experience of just like, life is easy.
It leads one down some difficult like roads where you start to talk about civilized versus uncivilized, and that makes you feel like you're like
barbarians.
Yeah, exactly. You might be dipping your toes into racism, and you might be. It's like it's hard to know where to draw those lines. Yeah. It is hard to know.
But
I think you're supposed to not be pleased by it. I'm pretty sure that you're supposed to be upset by it.
I just don't know if the way that I'm upset is.
Frank's gonna join a militia, you guys. Frank's gonna start hanging out with Tea Party gun bashers and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I filed for what is it? A concealed carry.
Oh, yeah. You need
it's
to.
Super easy to get in Utah
to take care of them Muslims.
Yeah, in case one shows up.
Yeah. What if he does? What are you gonna do? If you don't have a gun, nothing you can do.
Yeah, if they blow up something that I'm nearby, I need a gun.
You need to be able to whip out a gun and just start shooting.
even if just into the sky.
Just wherever. Random indiscriminate shooting is the correct response to an explosion.
Anyone who doesn't look like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, right? I mean, that's
if you're wearing strange headgear, sorry, you kind of have to die. Oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cross the line?
You crossed the line right there.
Oh, I crossed the line.
I just found where the line was. The line for me, Dan just crossed it.
As I stepped over
I don't know how much longer I can do this podcast.
Oh, okay.
You just crossed the line
there. Oh, dear. I've broken the podcast, everybody.
Oh, no.
How about this? I'm just going to move on to another story, and then we'll be okay. And then everything will be okay. I'm taking us to Tennessee.
Oh.
Where if you were reading the news, you saw that a bill passed the House. It passed in a vote in the Tennessee House of Representatives. to make the Holy Bible the official book of Tennessee.
Right.
It got to the Senate and was quickly just shuffled away to committee. They killed it.
Why? I thought Tennessee liked the Bible.
No, apparently not. Apparently only House representatives
the Tennessee Senate hates the Bible.
Hates the Bible. It's true. Well, what happened? So what ended up happening? State Senate Majority Leader Mark Norris, who is a Republican, said his political line was, this isn't the time or place in the full Senate floor to delve into that. We really need to look into it in committee. But as everyone who follows politics knows, this thing being shuffled off to committee means they're killing the bill.
Oh, yeah.
They're just killing it. They're not actually going to, try and hammer it out or anything. Both the governor and attorney general of Tennessee opposed the bill, the attorney general coming to the conclusion that it would not pass muster either on it's unconstitutional both on the federal and state level.
Wow.
So, yeah, that wouldn't hold up.
They're just making it the state book, right?
Yeah, but that would be an endorsement. Pretty resounding endorsement of a specific religion. So I think
birds and rocks get endorsed all the time by states.
That's true. And look, hey, you know what?
Flowers.
Your state bird could be a cardinal. Cardinal's a religious guy.
Oh.
You see what you did there?
Man.
Boom. Suddenly it's an endorsement of Catholicism.
Yeah.
If your state bird is a cardinal. I guess. Apparently, so that's been killed. So little moments of sanity do occur
occasionally, even in Tennessee,
even in the South. Every now and then, somebody does happen to look at something and go, "Oh yeah, that's against the Constitution. We shouldn't do that."
Wait, that founding document that
we talk about like it's ours.
Yeah,
as Republicans. Yeah, yeah, that one.
Huh. All right. Here's a story that. Here's a sobering story.
Oh, good. I was hoping. We were getting too silly.
So our listeners may or may not be terribly aware of a immigration issue that's rocking Europe. The North African, immigrants from Africa coming through North Africa, usually like Libya,
sure,
and Tunisia, I think are often the places where they embark for Europe.
The launch point.
The launch point. They get in, literally. They get into boats. It's sort of if you can picture the Cubans getting onto rafts sort of scenario,
trying to get to
going to Florida,
sure,
right? It's a very similar thing. These are not necessarily always the most seaworthy contraptions that they're boarding.
Sure.
And thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands upon tens of thousands of African migrants are flowing into Italy. Clearly, it dips down really close to North Africa.
Sure.
So the Italian Coast Guard is always saving people from these boats and then having to do something with them.
Right.
And there's this whole story, that I don't want to get into of all the sort of attitudes and whatnot in Europe about African immigrants in particular. But let's just say there's a lot of people in Europe that kind of feel the same way about African immigrants as there are in the United States who feel sort of similarly to Mexican immigrants.
Sure.
And sort of the idea of illegal immigration. These are very much hard to dispute that these are actually, in a lot of cases, refugees from war-torn regions.
So these
so
are
forth and so on.
These are
it's a little different than people looking for work.
So it's not just like Libyans and Algerians. We're talking about like sub-Saharan Africans as well.
Absolutely. That you get all sorts of Africans who go through this route, who are looking for a better life. in Europe, a safe life.
Yeah.
Well, on a recent boat over, I found this on CNN. Well, I will report that.
Yeah.
There was a case of 12 Christians being thrown overboard by Muslims who were on the same boat. And there were a lot of people. There were 105 people on this boat. It was a rubber boat. I can't imagine where they were putting everyone or how large that rubber boat could have possibly been. But nonetheless, the Italian Coast Guard picked them up. Arrests have been made. Clearly, there was a human barricade at one point across the boat, trying to protect some people from these freaking out Muslims.
Yeah.
Who, strangely enough, are fleeing to very Christian Italy.
Right.
So I don't know exactly what they think they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
12 fewer Christian neighbors once they arrive. Like I don't know quite what's going on here.
It does seem like the thinking might be there must have been a scuffle.
There definitely was a scuffle. They have reported that there was some sort of conflict, but the only people who were thrown over were Christian.
Oh my God.
In the last,
but we're talking about African Christians. These are guys. They're still refugees from war-torn Africa. They just happen to be Christian instead of
this is the scale. This is actually an issue that I've been following for a long time. Just, I don't know why I started following this issue, but just to put this into perspective for people, as far as like the scale of this humanitarian issue, more than 10,000 people have arrived in Italy from Libya since last weekend.
Wow.
This is we're talking huge numbers of refugees flowing into Italy. And
Italy just must not be as good at protecting themselves against this as Spain and Portugal, because those are really a lot closer to the African continent.
Well, I think it's the route that people are following, specifically, because I mean, if you look at like Tunisia specifically,
Tunisia's sort of right next to Sicily.
Exactly. So from Tunisia is a classic disembarking point. Same as Libya.
Right.
But those are places that also have long historic ties with Italy, political ties.
Oh, right.
In particular, Tunisia. And so that said, you're right. I mean, the Strait of Gibraltar, but that's an easy spot to protect. What we're talking about is you just point north and you're going to hit Italy, basically.
Yeah, eventually you'll hit Italy.
Right. So yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Italy's having a very difficult time sort of managing the situation, and the rest of Europe is kind of really pissed at Italy. I do know that.
Yeah. Well, and
but Italy is nothing but a giant shoreline.
Right. It is funny. The rest of Europe would be pissed because any country that, like, if any country in the European Union grants like citizenship or asylum or whatever, they're just in. They're in Europe. They can filter to anywhere else.
To flow around. Yeah. So it is a very, very interesting
there you
situation over there.
And
something that we need, Americans probably
maybe
paying a little bit more attention to.
Maybe the solution to
humanitarian issue
to having quite so many people making it across is to just make sure that there's a fight on every boat. Because then you're going to reduce the numbers at least.
So you just make sure that you have Christians and Muslims on every single boat.
Yeah.
That's terrible, Dan. Once again, there was a line there.
Yeah,
and you found it.
Boom. That's my job.
I'm a little bothered right now, Dan.
Good. I'm going to move on. Italy is still part of the conversation in my next story.
Oh,
we're going to talk about Catholics, and since April of 2008, and we've reported on some of this as it's gone on, there has been a bit of a feud between Rome and the sort of the leadership of the Catholic Church, and the LCWR, or the Leadership Conference of Women Religious, which is the largest organization of nuns in the United States.
Okay.
And it's basically what's happened is that these nuns have basically started to push for women's rights, including access to abortions when it's when there's rape, or when there's they're not like on the super progressive side of things where access to abortion should be just wherever, but they also sort of talk in gentle terms about homosexuality as opposed to in condemning terms. So they've been in trouble
for being
uppity, bunch of uppity women.
I thought good human beings was perhaps the problem here.
It is a problem when being a good human being contravenes the rules that the men have set.
Oh.
So the Vatican, Pope Benedict, you remember him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Grumpy Pope.
Yeah.
He launched a whole inquiry into them.
They wanted to break them up, right? Shut them down.
Oh, they were just doing all kinds of things. But these women, these nuns, they wouldn't just shut up. They take it lying down. As a matter of fact, they kind of stepped things up.
Is this the same group that Whoopi Goldberg got involved in?
She started it.
Because they started doing some crazy stuff.
That
group.
They were singing the R&B songs.
Yeah, and they were like ministering right there on the street to people. Like,
it's
they
mass
were cleaning
hysteria.
up the neighborhood.
Yeah. There was in December of 2008, the Vatican launched a different parallel review of all women's orders in the U.S. Because of reports about, quote, a certain secularist mentality that has spread among these religious families, perhaps even a certain feminist spirit.
They did. They got a copy of Sister Act.
They did.
That's what happened. And they were like, there's a problem. They thought it was like a documentary, right? And they're like, there's a problem going on in the United States.
Yeah, and the problem is
these American convents.
Those ladies are having way more fun than we're having. There were all sorts of things. So, I mean, this went on and on and on, and it has continued. You know, there was a whole bunch of kerfuffles in 2012 where the women, they were having, they just kept supporting the things that they supported, and that was not acceptable.
No, clearly.
Well, it has now come to a conclusion. April 2015, 7 years after the first shots were fired.
Yeah.
The Vatican has just folded.
What?
They have just concluded their investigations without any major sanctions. And it looks like they're just trying to end this ugliness.
Because it's where Francis would like to be.
Right.
Those nuns are doing where he wants the church to be.
Maybe. I don't know.
They might have gone a little far with like abortion-y shit.
And he is clearly not okay with the gays. He has made far too many statements he's clearly not okay with the gays.
Yeah.
But he might get a little closer to
but you say
being
they're just kind of sort of murmuring about the gays. They're not like full on like
right
saying, woo, gay marriage.
No, but they were like talking about like why, asking questions about contraception and that sort of thing. So I think he can get behind that.
Yeah, he said things that make people think that he's probably fine with.
Yeah, he inherited this problem. So now he has apparently, years into his tenure, he's closed the book.
But it's a big ship.
Yeah, it is a big ship. It's true.
And that was a pretty minor problem, except for the nuns involved. Pretty small.
Yeah.
Little dust up.
Yeah, there was a funny quote by Cardinal Gerhard Mueller, who delivered a blunt talk at the Vatican to the women, telling them that they'd been thumbing their nose at Rome's demands and blah blah blah. Then later in that same year, he renewed his criticisms, but he was he said he defended the investigation by saying, quote, "We have to clarify that we are not misogynists. We do not want to gobble up a woman a day."
Keeps the doctor away. I mean, what is that?
I don't know.
Gobble up a woman a day?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I just liked it, so I said it.
Gobble up What is that?
It's like It's like this woman gobbling machine of death.
That's what misogyny is for
yeah,
him?
exactly. We are the woman gobblers. We will gobble you.
That's
Beware.
ridiculous. That's just crazy.
Anyway.
All right, I have one more thing.
Uh-huh.
One more thing, Dan.
Yes, please.
This is amazing. I found this in the New York Times.
Okay.
And it is the story of a project to use human corpses as compost.
Okay.
This jibes with sort of my view of death, actually, which is why I love it. But it's horrifying in its implications, right, for so many people.
For so many people. All sounds pretty good to me so far.
Yeah.
What do you got? They're just composting people.
They're taking the first steps. Have you ever seen footage of that? I forget which university it is. I'm sorry, I have the name right here. Western Carolina University, where they have that sort of closed-in field area where they do
The decomposition
lab.
Yeah.
So they piggybacked into
They're
that.
studying decomposition of human
exactly.
bodies for forensic purposes.
Absolutely.
And
yep.
Whatever.
And so she's this researcher is piggybacking into that university's facility,
mm-hmm.
and she is studying sort of if it is really we know it's possible to compost a body, because they actually do it with they've started doing this with some farm animals.
Oh, okay.
But the issue is that so I guess with compost you need, and please, if I get this wrong, please
be forgiving.
Just bear with me. But you need carbon and you need nitrogen.
Okay.
Right. And so typically the leaves and the wood and the food or whatever, the fruit, whatever you're throwing out, that contains the carbon, and then you need some sort of nitrogen added a lot of times in order to make the process, to fuel the process.
Okay.
And so that you have all the components that you need to break down everything that's there.
Okay.
That's kind of what I understood from this article.
To feed the worms and the bacterias and whatever.
Yeah.
We'll just say
something
that.
like that.
We'll just say that.
So the trick is,
we're clearly biologists, everybody.
With farm animals, you're able to get the nitrogen from manure.
Right.
So, but the thing is, nobody feels really all that great about using feces of any kind
with people,
with smearing feces all over a dead body.
Just
poop
all over the people. That's the new campaign.
I mean, if we got over some of our mores and ideas about like the human body
and how we're supposed to treat a dead body,
exactly,
and all that sort of
then there would be no issue with that, right. But there is. People get a little.
People get very
weird
about it.
And clearly, the whole embalming thing, which is just, I think, a travesty.
I think it's dumb.
I think it's
You're just paying somebody to do something
ridiculous.
to a body that doesn't need to be done.
It doesn't need to be done.
It doesn't help anything.
The body then doesn't decompose.
Yeah, it preserves
like
it
it should
for no reason for a while.
And then that body gets put into a casket that's like sealed,
right,
and then put into a cement vault. We are not ancient Egyptians trying to like preserve our body for some purpose. Why is this happening?
Right.
Like, it's really dumb.
I'll tell you part of why it's happening, because there's money in it.
Mm-hmm.
People
absolutely.
are conned into embalming bodies that are then cremated.
No, that's true. That is true.
That's nutballs.
Yeah. No. That's crazy town.
I was asked when I told the guy for my dad that we wanted him cremated, And he said, "Do you want him embalmed?" And I just like stared at the guy.
No, I want him cremated.
Why? What are you talking about? Why don't you also preserve him in carbonite before you cremate him? Why
Yeah.
don't you? No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not how this works.
Yeah. We have really strange things. I did not know that the whole embalming thing really caught on. Do you know when?
No.
Civil War.
Oh.
They the northern families wanted a way to get their northern fallen sons
Home.
in such a way that they could like have viewings still
That's so-
and whatnot.
You know what?
And it was this on a certain level, it really shocked a lot of people back in the day.
Yeah.
But then it became the norm
Right.
somehow.
Yeah.
Right? And then as soon as that became normalized, we have just been embalming bodies for no good reason in this country.
Save your money, people. If you have a loved one that's died and you're wanting to take care of you have to take care of all of the things, just don't have them embalmed.
Yeah.
That's never necessary.
And so I have often thought that maybe like, and I think this came out of a conversation that you and I had probably around the time that your father passed away. But since then, I have actually really become very settled with this idea, which is I want to be picked apart and wild animals should be eating me.
Yeah.
You know, like there should be like a wolf reserve somewhere.
That was what my dad wanted.
Yeah.
His desires for how we dispose of his body was just to be set out for the wolves, but I can't do that. You're not allowed.
Well, you're not allowed to do it, but somebody should be setting this thing up, you know, where there's just a place where bodies can be taken and they get consumed.
Yeah, that would be great. I do like this composting idea. Here's
the deal. This article sort of follows from the laying out of this one test subject, a 78-year-old woman who they put into a bed of wood chips and then had more of them heaped on top of her. She's really over the course of this article, she really isn't decomposing the way that she probably needs to be in order to be composted.
Okay.
So they're trying to figure out how to get more of the fuel that they need, like
poop equivalent.
Place. Okay, so let's see. The process is surprisingly simple. It says place nitrogen-rich material, like dead animals, inside a mound of carbon-rich material. So I had everything a little flip-flopped.
Okay.
There.
Yeah.
Okay, so forget everything that I just said.
Okay.
So you are filled with nitrogen.
Nice.
And we need stuff like wood chips and sawdust or a little extra nitrogen. Maybe that's where I got confused. And then because you need that microbial activity to start going. So in fact, it should actually raise the temperature. It's
compost gets hot.
Yeah, and she's just a cool 78 degrees, I think they said. She's not reaching 140 degrees or higher. And so that in that case, if they could get her body up to that temperature, that would kill most common pathogens.
Sure.
And it would also, if done correctly, there should be no smell. And apparently bones compost. But they take a little bit longer, clearly, than tissue. So your whole body could be broken down in this process if they can get it right.
And used to fertilize the food of others.
Well, and they say that probably not used for food, but like a nice flower bed somewhere.
This all seems very
grandma's flower bed.
It seems
grandma's flower. Those flowers are grandma.
Right.
It sounds like the Speaker for the Dead. If that anybody from the Enders series.
I didn't.
I think it was Speaker for the Dead. I think that was the one. For the Orson
Scott
Card, yeah.
Sure.
In a way. Anybody who read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Here's what I think. the takeaway from this for me isn't about composting human bodies, because that just seems like it's probably impractical at this point. It seems like you're not like the benefit is not outweighing the cost or whatever.
Well, it's fairly time consuming. So
right.
The amount of facility that you would need to pull this off could be challenging.
But what this is doing is challenging our views on bodies. And I think that human bodies are... So I was thinking about this just the other day because I heard an interesting thing. I don't remember what radio show I was listening to, but maybe it was Radio Lab or This American Life or something. They were talking about this story where some deep sea divers found this freshwater cave in Mexico that they were diving way, way down, and it was deep, deep, deep water. And one guy died, and then another guy found the body and was going to go back and pull the body up and bring it back to the family. And then he died trying to get the body. And it's just like, at what point do you just say, that's just a body? That's not the guy. That's not, I mean, I get that people need closure, but find another way. Honestly, my body is not me.
Yeah. I know. I feel the exact same way you do.
And when it's dead, it's definitely not me.
My sister and I, when she was in town back in end of December, we were talking just about, like, not like in any real terms about like when our parents died, but like just sort of some thoughts surrounding death, as you do.
Go start doing it.
And we have aging parents, but nonetheless, she mentioned how important the viewing is to her. Because I said something along the lines of like, I don't understand like open caskets or even viewings for that matter, because I really don't. I don't feel any need to go see the person. Right. I think a nice little public ceremony of some kind where people get together and talk about the person, that's very much what I need to process somebody's death. But seeing the body, they're gone, they're dead. I know they're dead.
Yeah.
I don't need any sort of closure like that. And she popped in with this whole thing of like, no, I need to go into the room and see the person dead. I'm like, why would you want to do that?
My mom's the same way. My mom
I don't get
really, really needs that. And I don't get it either. I don't begrudge it.
No. I wouldn't deny somebody that if it was available.
Right.
To go do. But I just can't wrap my head around why you need to see the person dead.
I'm fascinated by it. Every time I go to a viewing, I find it fascinating. But I don't...
Because we confront death so... frequently?
And we sterilize death and we hide our death and whatever. So I take the opportunity to actually look at this body, at this lifeless body, and sort of contemplate my place and its place and sort of what it all means.
Have you been to... Have you ever experienced a viewing where the person had not been embalmed?
I don't know. I mean, I guess there wasn't a viewing, but I went with my mom and saw my dad,
and he wasn't
embalmed.
Yeah,
okay. And he looked just fine.
Huh.
And it was just a very interesting.
I mean, he was clearly probably, being refrigerated.
Well, yeah. I mean,
right.
However they keep them, I don't know how. Yeah,
I'm
sure
weird to talk about. I mean, there's all these weird things that are weird to say about bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do with him. I just know that they wheeled him out because my mom really wanted that moment. And and so before he was cremated, we just me and my wife and my mom were in the room with him. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it didn't help me with closure at all. It wasn't that for me.
Right.
It was just an interesting thing.
Huh.
It was a point. I do find it interesting to sort of be with that. But I get the same thing from somebody that I don't even know. Like if I go to a viewing with my wife of someone that she knew,
right.
I have the same point of interest, which is just here's this former human,
right,
who's
shut down.
He has ceased to be.
Yeah. It's always so weird the things that people say about the dead body too.
Mm.
Like,
she looks so peaceful.
Peaceful, yeah.
Well, yeah. There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
That's about as peaceful as it gets. There is nothing happening.
All metabolic activity has ceased.
Even the heart is no longer doing anything. That's peaceful. Anyway, we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions or comments, I mean, this is an interesting thing. If you have any comments about
death and dying, it's a very
bodies and embalming or any of that stuff, please feel free to write to us. You can reach us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or we have a phone number you can call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 424-666-8442. It's a voicemail line. Really.
Leave us a message.
Yeah.
Tell us your thoughts. Let us hear your voice.
Yeah.
You can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, or you can go to the search for in Facebook for the Members Only Lounge and ask to be let in.
Yes, the TGIA members.
Thank you. Yes. That's what it's called.
Yes. And so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to listen to the O'Reilly show, the O'Reilly Factor.
Bill O'Reilly is confronting John Stossel about a report that Stossel did that
Stossel's a strange one.
Curiously claimed that that there is no war on Christianity and that Christians are fine, which is obviously couldn't possibly be the case, and Stossel must be crazy. So here's how that goes.
So your take is that religion is not under attack? What is this?
Well, in a few places, that nun has something to complain about, but your war on Christianity, you're just a 10-foot-tall crybaby.
I'm crying.
It's not so bad. I mean, no, Christians aren't being killed.
No, not yet.
Well, and not in America, and they're not going to be.
They're verbally being killed.
80. So what? 80.
Well, wait a minute, Stossel. Come on now. You shouldn't be diminished because you believe a certain way. Aren't you outraged by that?
No, I mean, what's diminished? I mean, 83% of the country says they are Christians.
Yeah.
You are the majority. You've won.
Well, it's not a matter of winning. It's a matter of respect. Look, you remember a few years ago when some of the big department stores ordered their employees not to say Merry Christmas. Remember that?
That was dumb, politically correct.
And then we had to bring in a hammer and say...
And you're the hammer and you won.
And we won. Okay.
It's over with. Done.
But, yes, and that went away to a certain extent. But now we have to fight the crashes and
the hammer. He's a hammer. Oh, my God. I finally said, at least somebody said you're a crybaby to his face.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing. Like, what is Stossel up to? I mean, Stossel does seem to be Fox News's the one character that they have who's willing to express about half of what they all already believe.
Right. Well,
right? Like, because O'Reilly's just doing a show. He's doing a character.
Yeah.
I don't believe he believes half the shit that comes out of his mouth.
No, he's just he's a character.
Are
You're
they
right.
trying to pivot?
I don't think so.
No?
It's just good television. They want to have clashes. It's about clashes.
They do like having
That's
clashes.
good TV.
But this is a very interesting one.
Stossel apparently is a non-believer.
Yeah, no.
He calls himself secular. He won't use the word atheist, but he calls himself a secularist.
Yeah.
He owns that title.
Ooh. Thanks, John Stossel.
Well done, Stassi. Stassi, baby. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. That O'Reilly is he's a hoot. He's just a
10-foot bully.
A 10-foot crybaby.
Crybaby, that's what it was.
Which I think is great. And he is 10 feet tall.
He's both a crybaby and a bully.
Yeah, he's both of those things. Most bullies are crybabies.
That's true.
Most bullies are just little bitches that also happen to be able to hit. So, there you go.
Oh, Dan.
Yeah, he's just a little bitch.
Oh, wow. You have strong feelings about this.
I actually do. O'Reilly really rubs me the wrong way. And what really gets me is that he wins almost every time. He is.
Oh, he sets it up on his show to always win.
Yeah, he's so much better. Like Jon Stewart is the only person who I've ever seen clearly take him down on his own turf.
Yeah. Yeah.
And other than that, he wins every single time, and it drives me crazy because he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Oh, yeah. There's no denying that he's good at what he does.
Which is awful. What he does is terrible. It's like being, the best.
Hitler was
asshole
for a while.
Oh, you went to Hitler. You went to Hitler. I was trying to avoid it. Hitler was the best at what he did.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
I don't think I would have gone to Hitler myself.
It's always the low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
it
is.
when you need just that thing.
Who
Who else was good at what they did?
was the best? Hitler, Stalin.
Oh, Stalin's not used enough.
No, they need to start going to Stalin.
Stalin should be used more. Stalin is more of a complicated figure, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of anyway. Anyway, we had some folks write into the show. If I can just
did we
pull that up real quickly.
Oh, did we, Dan?
Oh, we did. Yes, indeedy do.
All right.
Francis wrote in, "Hi, Frank and Dan. I've been listening to the My Book of Mormon podcast." Oh, you're making me talk about another podcast on my show?
Thanks, Francis.
No, actually, that's fine. It's a good podcast. With David Michael, a never Mormon, reading through the Book of Mormon with added commentary.
Yeah.
He just got to the Book of Ether, and there's a character always referenced as, quote, the brother of Jared, who seems to be doing all the work of dealing with the Lord. What is up with that? Does that character ever get a name? Or do you know if there's a reason that he does not have a name? He says, "I love your podcast and always hope you have a great day, Francis."
He has a name. It's just unpronounceable.
And stupid. Also, it's no more of a mouthful than the brother of Jared. The brother of Jared is 7 syllables. Mahanrai Mori Yankamer is 8. So
What?
6 syllables was the brother of Jared. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's quicker to say the brother of Jared than to say that.
Yeah, it's more efficient.
Isn't that it? Mahanrai Mori Yankamer?
Uh-huh. Yep.
What the fuck?
Well,
Joe Smith was just grabbing at straws at that point.
Yeah.
You know what he was doing? He was dictating out of that damned hat, and then he forgot. He said, and his name was Mahanrai Moriankamer. And then it came to pass that the brother of Jared was...
I don't know if it ever... Does it ever say Mahanrai Moriankamer in the Book of Mormon?
Oh, maybe
or was
not.
that just Joseph Smith?
It was just revealed later
on saying it.
Yeah.
Because you have the brother of Jared, and you have the Jaredites. And so he does this whole, and somebody clearly was like, well, what is the name? What is the name? What is the brother of Jared's name?
And he was like,
Jared's brother.
He had a name. It was,
and he was like, oh, it's got to be something difficult.
Right. There's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, the reason is that his name was just hard to say. It was, Scrudgum Mudgum Rumpelstiltskin. I mean, no.
Mahanrai Moriankamer.
The Book of Mormon's a strange and goofy place.
Oh yeah.
Which
of course you're finding out more and more, friends. I mean, if you've listened thus, I mean, to Ether, you're about to wrap up.
Well, Ether's kind of funny. I did like. So Mark Twain said that that the Book of Mormon was chloroform in print.
Yeah.
And then Christopher Hitchens accused him of hitting too close to the mark, considering that it actually has a book called Ether in it. I thought that was pretty funny. Megan wrote in. She said, "Hi, guys. Love the show. I have to share with you my experience with yoga." Oh, we've talked about yoga on the show a few times.
Demonic yoga.
I've had some musculoskeletal issues, so I checked out a yoga class recommended to me by my physical therapist. When I arrived at the studio, there were only a few people who were clearly regulars, and the instructor introduced herself to me. I mentioned how I had found her class and that I had hoped it would be helpful for my tennis elbow. I was surprised when I met her because she didn't seem very relaxed. Quite the opposite, actually. She seemed pretty intense and a bit scary, really. Eventually, the other yogis arrived and we filled the room. Once we were all seated on our mats, me, the only newcomer at the very, very back, she lit some incense and started on a spiel about how yoga is not an exercise class, and if you are looking for just exercise class, you should not be doing yoga because yoga is a spiritual practice.
Oh, dear God.
Well, fuck, she says.
She found the wrong instructor.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I could slip out the back, but as I tried to sneak off, the yoga instructor stopped mid-spiel and asked why I was leaving. I made up something about being allergic to incense, which then resulted in a fun-filled conversation where she noted that no one else had been allergic to the incense and that she specially bought incense that was good for people with allergies and that maybe she could open a window. I said I had outdoor allergies too, which satisfied her enough that she begrudgingly let me leave without trying to physically restrain me. She just says, no, Frank and Dan, there are some people who take yoga as a spiritual practice very, very seriously.
Yeah.
I eventually tried 2 other yoga classes, one of which involved partner work with me, a petite woman, being paired with a university football player who I was coerced into helping stretch by pushing my hands into his ginormous armpit. A very relaxing and zen experience, to be sure. And the other class, where an aggressive male teacher with shaggy hair and tie-dyed clothing tried to force me to stand on my head while I was explaining to him that I have a neck and back injury, and doing a headstand probably wasn't the best plan. At this point, having tried 3 different yoga classes, I'm thinking of looking for an actual stretching class at a dance studio or something. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, smart, actually.
But consider yourselves and all of your listeners forewarned, yoga can be very scary and stressful.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That's out there for sure.
Yeah. I happen to have some friends who are yoga instructors for their living, and they, they're very chill about the whole spirit.
Woo-woo nonsense.
One of one of my best friends is, she dabbles in the woo, only insofar as she'll ding a bell or whatever. She likes to have a sort of, I would call it spirity vibe in the room,
yeah, okay.
but she doesn't talk about spiritual things, and it's mostly just exercise.
Yeah.
Which is what it was when I was in India and talked to people, actual Hindu practitioners, and I actually asked, is it a spiritual practice? And they're like, no, it's exercise.
Interesting.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. Because I kept hearing that it's like this big spirity thing, and
I'm sure you can find that in India.
Probably, yeah, but
probably inundated by Westerners.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I kept hearing that the complaint of Westerners, of Americans, was that they were taking the spiritual practice out of yoga. And I was like, oh, well, it must be very spiritual. And so when I got to India and started asking around, it was like, no, that's just, I had one Muslim guy who was a guide, and I was talking to him, and he practiced yoga, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I thought it was more Hindu thing. And he was like, he got mad. He was like, no, it's just exercise. What are you talking about? That's not Hindu or Muslim. That's just exercise.
Okay. Interesting.
So there you go.
There you have it, Dan. Anything else?
Well, no, that's it. So,
so we have donors to thank.
We do. Why don't you,
Here's the news. We are currently at 54 supporters on Joyride.
Ooh.
And we are, and those 54 supporters have pledged $491 a month.
Wow!
So we're fast approaching.
We're growing
our our next goal, which is $700 a month. At which point, we need to start soon looking for a producer. But at that point, we'll be in a position to actually bring somebody on.
We can't do this ourselves, people.
But that said, we have two donors who are new to the Joyride platform. This week, yeah. Rachel and Aragon.
Well, thank you very much, Rachel and Aragon. That's it's very generous of you guys. Anyone else, if you listen to our show, if you enjoy the show, and you want to be a part of keeping it going and improving it, we could really use the help.
Yeah. And you know what? This last week, we did our Google Hangout, and we had a number of people join in.
Yeah,
and it was a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and we're learning how to do it better. So next one should be better, guys. It's not like it was bad, but we'll just have some direction for it and stuff.
Yeah. So we've done 2 now. We are going to do another one before the end of April. We'll be sending that information out really soon.
Right.
And both Rachel and Aragon expressed interest in and are pledging at the level to do the monthly hangout.
Awesome.
And so we'll be getting them in on the next one, as well as everyone else. So we just have to pick a date at this point.
Yep.
You and me. So we'll chat after the show.
So yeah, if you want to be a part of that, just go to thankgodimatheist.com, which is easy to find, and then on the right-hand side of that, just click the Joyride button.
Yeah.
It's not a banner ad. It just takes you to our thing.
Yeah.
So just click
Nothing
that,
annoying. No pop-ups. It just goes to the page.
and you'll get to see us in a goofy video that we made for you, and all kinds of things. So thank you for considering that.
And were there any other donors to thank this week? All right.
So good. I just so now we move on to the gays. We're going to talk about the gays.
The gays. The male gays. The
not the GAZE.
Oh.
The queers.
Well, that's what I studied in my gender studies class, was the male gays.
And I'll bet you studied some male gays while you were doing that. I'll bet you used your male gays on some male gays. Anywho, because you're a gay.
Yeah, I am.
You are a gay. The gay.
Oh, guy.
But what we're going to specifically talk about is 2 cases of gay Mormons.
Yeah. Sort of, okay, so...
Mormonism does not embrace homosexuality at this point.
It does not. And so one of the stories that we wanted to talk about is actually a married couple that we've talked about before. They're actually people that you know, Dan, which is the Weeds.
Josh and Lolly Weed,
Yes.
man and a woman married to each other, have been for 14 years or something like that.
And he's gay.
He is openly
Yeah.
gay.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk about same-sex attraction. He doesn't talk about, not being gay. He is gay, but he has made a lifestyle choice, which is to be married to a woman and have a family. They have 4. God damn
They
it.
have children.
They have children. Suddenly I'm trying to count.
More than 2.
Yes, but fewer than 5.
And so they're doing their whole thing.
Right.
And he's an interesting case because I mean you kind of just have to talk about him in this, because he has found a way. He's found it within himself because of the things that he wants. He wanted his own kids. He wanted clearly a wife.
He wanted
sort of the
to
Mormon
stay Mormon.
family.
He wanted his church was his faith was very, very important to him.
And so he did what they basically asked him to do, but he's done it with, hate to say it, at the disparagement of others, but with real integrity.
Right. He went into it being honest with Lolly up front from the beginning. I am attracted to men. I am gay.
Yeah.
And has stuck with it. He has they have a great relationship. Other than the fact that one of them isn't. I mean, and they have a sexual relationship as well.
Clearly,
obviously, they have children. But he makes no bones about it. He is gay.
And it's very, very interesting. It's taken me a long time to really wrap my head around what they're up to and his stance, and I feel very settled with it. Sort of more time that has passed.
A lot of people get really upset.
Yeah, well, because of actually a phrase that you just used, which is he's made a lifestyle choice.
Yeah,
and that makes people that makes the gay community very uncomfortable, because clearly we don't want this idea to be out there. And it seems also analogous to, or it seems like it's also suggesting that we've made lifestyle choices.
Right.
Well, the fact of the matter is everybody makes lifestyle choices. You choose how to live your life.
Right. So he pisses off people on the gay side because people on the gay side want everyone to feel free to be gay.
Right.
And they see anybody who is gay but chooses to live a heterosexual lifestyle,
right?
They see that as an attack, or at least as a threat
perhaps,
to their position,
to their position, their argument that it's not a choice.
On the flip side of that, there's the Mormons who, while he's doing what the church ostensibly asks of him, which is don't have a gay relationship, have a marriage and whatever.
Right.
He will not say, oh, I'm just same-sex attracted and I'm fixing it or whatever. He doesn't. He won't go along with with sort of where they want to be.
Right.
And they're very liberal, these two.
And when their names got mentioned and some of their statements got included in an amicus brief
to the Supreme
Court that was written from the conservative side of this whole thing, and kind of not misquoting them, but taking them out of context.
Well, I don't even think it quoted them. It just used their names, lumped them in with all of these other marriages where the men aren't admitting to being gay and aren't talking about it in an open way and are saying that it's right for everybody, which Josh and Lolly don't say. They don't. They don't recommend this.
Right.
They just say this is how we've chosen to live. And
well, the thing that I read about it, it was actually a number of the other couples that were mentioned in this were also in that TLC travesty.
Right.
My husband's not gay.
Right.
And those are couples that are, at least at this point, the wife knows that her husband has quote unquote same-sex attraction.
Right.
And that he's dealing with it. Right. But there was, just watching that show, there was nothing. There was nothing respectable about what these people were up to.
No, not at all.
It was just a mess.
They were living a lie.
It felt very, they hadn't figured out how to make the whole thing work with itself. And somehow Josh has done that, which is very interesting. Yeah. But nonetheless, so
this amicus brief was filed by a man named Manwaring, Doug Manwaring, who filed this brief that basically his claim was that if gay marriage is allowed in the United States, it hurts these men, these poor men who are valiantly fighting their gayness, and it hurts their position. They are then somehow damaged. I don't think that it's a very well set up argument. No. But he included Josh's name in it, Josh and Lolly. Yeah. Well, Josh and Lolly came out with a statement that said, you know what? We support marriage equality. Yeah. It's important to us that people be able to marry whomever they want and that there's fairness in marriage. Yeah. Which is a totally opposite of what their church's position is.
Right. They're mavericks.
They are mavericks.
They are just completely out there on their own. They've figured out their own thing. And somehow they're making it work for themselves. Right. Anyway, this morning, I stumbled upon an op-ed on advocate.com,
which is a gay
magazine. Website and magazine. And this was written by a man by the name of Brian Anderson. I just iPadded my monitor
on your laptop screen. He's trying to swipe,
and it didn't work. Weird. I was trying to scroll down, and he comes out and he's specifically responding to this big dust up that was caused at the last Mormon General Conference, where I can't remember which one of the speakers referred to gay unions as counterfeit, and gay families as counterfeit families, and it's a counterfeit lifestyle, and la 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 la. Well, here's a guy who is gay, and he still claims Mormonism, and he's married to a man who also still claims Mormonism. Right. And so they are a gay Mormon married couple, legally married. Right. And he's coming out and he's saying, my life isn't counterfeit. We have an adopted child. I'm assuming adopted. I'm assuming it's not one of theirs. I probably shouldn't have done that. But they have a child. Right. And that they're raising together. Right. And
their lifestyle basically looks like any other Mormon lifestyle other than the fact that it's two men.
Not judging by the hat that one's wearing. That's not very Mormon. Their outfits aren't very Mormon. They're making far too much of a statement with what they're wearing.
Oh dear.
But this guy is a convert to the LDS Church. His mom converted shortly after him.
Wow.
And he went and served an LDS mission. He dated women. He says it never felt right. He tried to change. He did the whole, like, you know, praying and pleading with God to have this trial lifted from him, that this trial could end.
I'm sure you went through that.
Yeah.
Every Mormon man who experiences gay
For a minute. I mean, my teens were a wreck with that. After the mission, it didn't really go on for very long.
Right.
I became good with it. But nonetheless, I stopped believing in God, and then that just cleaned everything up.
Yeah, that helps a lot. That's definitely.
But he goes through the whole entire thing, and finally just says, "Well, fuck it, you know." He says that he tried to resign, but his bishop denied him that, which he didn't look into it hard or long enough to find out that they can't do that legally. But nonetheless, he technically, because of that, he's still a member of the church. But he's just sort of a quote unquote Jack Mormon.
But he believes.
But it seems like he does believe it. He claims it. He claims it as part of his identity. It clearly was a very important thing to him. His mom is still Mormon, but she is like apparently doting grandmother and all that kind of stuff, and loves her son-in-law.
That sounds pretty Mormon.
Yeah, just all of a sudden it's gay, right? And so we started talking about this and how these two couples who they've sort of landed in a very different place.
Yeah.
With homosexuality and Mormonism.
Two couples that claim Mormonism. Mormonism only claims one of them back, which is Josh and Lolly. But so the question becomes, I mean, we use the word integrity already. And as I looked at these two examples of people, I can't decide who I think has the most. Who they're following two different types of integrity.
Yeah,
one has integrity to who he is as a sexual being, who he's attracted to. He has to be honest with himself about that, and he won't go into a love relationship, that he can't grant assent to as a person.
But that limits his ability to have a space. There's no space for him in his church.
Right. So he's cut himself off technically, actually, from his church.
Right.
But he still believes in it. He's just doing his church the way that he can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
On the flip side, we have someone who has integrity enough to admit exactly who he's attracted to.
Yeah.
He knows what he is. He knows who he is.
And he's living honestly.
But he denies, but he rejects that part of himself in order to cling to his religion, in order to hold to what he believes to be true, in a larger sense, and I don't know where to put either of them.
Well, they're both very they're both on the fringe of Mormonism.
Oh yeah,
whether or not one couple can walk in with their family and attend a sacrament meeting and not get looked at strangely.
Well, neither couple can really do that. I mean, once the Weeds ward, like, because after they came out about this and were open about it, they were looked at strangely in their ward.
But I'm saying generically into any ward anywhere.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the Weeds are quintessential typical Mormon family.
Yeah, they could fly under the radar if they wanted to.
Totally.
And this other couple clearly doesn't have that space.
Doesn't have that option.
And so. It raises some interesting questions because, like, clearly the Mormon Church at some point is going to get good on the gay issue, right?
They have to.
At a certain point, if this gay family, gay couple with their kid wants to, I just lost my train of thought. If eventually the church is going to allow them a space, and they're going to have a legitimate role within the church. Now, however far that expands,
and if they continue along the same trajectory that they're on long enough, they'll be welcomed.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe that that's probably the case. There's just no way that the church can continue. I mean, judging by the trajectory of the society, there's no way the church can continue on this path.
They're too ruled by public opinion.
Well, they would just lose too many of their members.
Well, there's that too. They're ruled by tithes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but the question then becomes, what does that do to Josh and Lolly's marriage? If suddenly, if suddenly gay marriage, there's a space in their world for gays to be okay.
Yeah.
Boy, that does change that
sacrifice.
It's a bit of a mind fuck.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, I don't know that we have any conclusions here.
We don't.
But it is interesting to sort of highlight two forms of integrity to a religion where the religion is in complete contradiction of a person's identity.
Yeah.
And it's not just, and that's an inherent identity. It's not, I mean, I think people have the right to choose many parts of their identity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. But these guys didn't choose this.
No.
There's no choice involved. This is just inherent identity.
Right.
And boy, man, it's so easy for us to look at someone, who's gay in a church that rejects being gay and just say, oh, well, that's easy. The answer is clear. You just reject them back.
Right.
But sometimes there are ways of not doing that are still, I have to respect it. I don't like it. I mean, I don't want it to be the case, but I respect it.
Yeah. I mean, it's simplistic, but it's one of the problems with faith, and with religion in general, right? Like the people are put into these positions they're very compromising positions, no matter what. While there's a lot of integrity in both of these couples, right? They are still compromised.
Yeah,
they still have had to reject something that had value to them.
Something internal, something inherent to themselves.
And that they had to push aside in order to feel good about the life that they were living.
More than anything, to me, what this says, and I've been marveling on this for a few weeks. People who are friends of mine have heard me talk about this probably too much.
Okay.
But one of the things that I've been marveling on is human beings and the fact that we are just dumb. We are not good. We laud ourselves as being this incredibly intelligent, and we are. We're more intelligent than all the other critters. And yet,
compare us to a squid. We're pretty smart.
We win.
Yeah.
We win. But you give us rules, and a human being can believe with everything that they are, with every fiber of their soul and being, that there is a magic man who lives wherever, who will sentence them to eternal torture.
Yeah.
If they go off and fuck that girl over there.
Yeah.
Eternal torture is what happens if they fuck that girl, and they still go fuck that girl.
Yeah.
What does that say? To me, it's very clear that these rules have nothing to do with humanity. Humans are X, and these rules assume that they are Y.
Yeah.
These rules are way less inherent to us. These rules are made up.
Oh yeah. I mean, clearly
they don't even apply to us. They're not even. It's weird that we as a society have rejected, as many societies, that we as cultural beings reject so much of what is clearly just inherent and natural to us.
Yeah, but that's the control factor.
Yeah,
it's almost like. It's like misdirection in a way.
Yeah.
Right? They have you so focused on these things that you can never correct.
Right.
You can never correct your sexual urges.
Yeah.
Hopefully there are some that you can correct.
You can work around things. You can change things. But in the end, if you're a sexual being, and not everyone is, but if you're a sexual being, that is DNA level basic.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah. And it doesn't stop just at sex. There are many aspects of the human being, right? That just go so counter to what these churches are trying and faith traditions are trying to get us to do with our lives. Right. That we can never get good on because we're human beings. Right. And so you sit there and you just focus and focus and focus. All the while they own you now. Yeah. They control They control who you are.
Because they say don't do the thing that you are compelled to do by your nature, by your very nature. You're compelled to do it. Well, we say it's bad.
Yeah.
And
so now you need to go to church weekly. You need to pay us money.
Right.
You need to do X, Y, and Z.
Every time you commit an action that's in contravention to my rule, you have to come to me.
Yeah.
And I have to scold you and you have to feel bad about yourself. Yeah. And then you go out and you're going to recommit to not doing it, and then you're going to do it again because it's inherent to who and what you are.
Yeah. No, in fact,
so embrace what you are, people. I think that's where we're getting to.
But then going back to the weeds and Brian Anderson and his spouse, it seems like we just made an argument for Brian Anderson.
Well, I'm fine with that.
Because
if that's who they are, if they're embracing who they are, that's fine.
But the problem is, here's the problem. And here's what I worry about.
Okay.
Actually, is as these religions start to get good on the gay issue and they start to carve out spaces for gay people to feel like they're legitimate, real members of their community.
Sure.
That makes me very worried about the future of gayness and the future of...
You'll have annoying gay Christians. You already do.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is that right now, these people, if we assume if we take it fully at face value that they would be at church every week, if the church just had a space for them, which who knows whether or not, I mean, that's what you kind of get from this, but who knows? Maybe he's just... Well, let's just say that that's what they are, right? I think that's sad. I think that's sad. I think that right now, I don't know. They've had to. They had Christianity not accepting gay people has made gay people wrestle with their belief.
Right.
It's forced so many people to figure out that it's all bunk.
Right.
But as soon as generations start coming up and there's a space for them, it's just one less thing that pushes people out of Christianity and out of faith traditions.
Of course, that's true. But I mean, I think the way we win isn't by. I think that the way we win is by pointing out how much better our lives can be.
Yeah.
Just live well. Just live well. Everybody go out and live really, really well. And live in an integrity that they can't possibly achieve, because that's how we win. We don't win by having more babies. They're going to have more babies. We don't win by, and we don't win by arguing with them and debating them. We win, I think, in the end, by having the better lifestyle, by offering a nicer, better life.
You need to do that more often. That's pretty good. You get your jowls.
Get the hargle-bargle going.
Dan was worked up, people.
All right. Well, if you guys have anything to say about any of this, if you have something good to add to this conversation, please do so.
Yeah.
You can write into us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail, 424-666-8442.
Right. Please visit our Facebook page. Like the page.
Yeah.
It's facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Or on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge.
It's a closed lounge. Nobody will know what it is. They'll know you're in it, but they won't see anything that you post in it.
So
it doesn't
post with confidence,
with reckless abandon, as long as you're nice.
Yeah, exactly.
So we wanted to thank Mackenzie for taking care of our Facebook page. That's a job she does every week with great alacrity.
Yeah, and thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music,
which is fantastic. Don't forget that if you want to be a part of this whole endeavor and help us out, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the Joyride button and go and contribute.
Yeah, and thank you so much to all of our supporters. it's remarkable.
And
It's crazy,
and we
that you
greatly
guys
appreciate
are
it.
so generous, and we appreciate it. It helps out a lot.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, dear listener.
For all that you do.
You just keep coming back.
Yep. And we'll come back too. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.